Leaving Sundance to jump to fashion, I had became acquainted with Joy Montoya, who runs Urban Native Era. We're planning this huge event in Los Angeles, in-person pop-up, and the event was going to be on March 12th, 2020. We had to call it off, had to cancel all the 600 RSVPs. So we did a 7-hour live show, and that was my first week at Urban Native Era.
Welcome to the Native Edge. I'm Chris James. I'm with my co-host
Yvette Fielder. We're at the awesome Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, owned by our friends at the Seminole Tribe.
Thank
Florida.
you. Yes, thank you, the Seminole Tribe. This is a beautiful facility. They have facilities all over the United States and the world.
Yes.
I think they have some in I have the honor to introduce our new friend, Hud. Why don't you just introduce yourself how you like to be introduced, and then we can get right into it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Appreciate y'all having me here. My name is Hud Oberly. Hud is short for Hudiba, which is my Caddo name, which means someone you look up to, and I am 6'2", so it aligns. But I'm from Norman, Oklahoma. I went to the University of Colorado at Boulder. I've worked in all different arts fields, film, fashion, contemporary art now a little bit. But I just love, uplifting Indigenous art, Indigenous creatives. I think that's kind of the lane I'm in right now. And that encompasses so many groups of people. So that's kind of what I do, but I'm Osage, Caddo, and Comanche, and Rolled Osage. Like I said, from Oklahoma, I get to go back there a few times a year. So I get to get around all of this country a lot. So yeah. It's good.
And Yvette and I talk a lot about networks. I don't know how we ended up being followers on Facebook, but I just somehow, he was popped up on my list of, I don't even know what posts. I kept watching his posts, and I was like, oh, this guy's doing some cool things. So I just reached out to him via email, not even knowing that you were looking at 40 under 40, maybe had already been an applicant of 40 under 40. And, it was really cool. So HUD is one of our class of 2023 40 under 40s, which is awesome. But I didn't have that idea when I reached out to you. I was just like, oh, let's just have a conversation. You're doing some really cool stuff. And you still didn't really mention it. I think I found that out late. I don't remember you ever even really telling me. And
what, the 40
that you were even on, a potential 40 under 40.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool, though, that just, you just sort of found, the network and found somebody and reached out. And we talked about that a lot. It's okay just to do that. If there's somebody that you want to reach out to. And,
oh, yeah.
And
I do it all the time.
We do it all the time. And then we had you at the Reservation Economic Summit. You did a couple of cool panels.
Yeah, now that I've been through that, I'm 40 under 40. All my friends are like, how do you get to be asked to do all these speaking things? How do you know all these people? I'm 40 under 40, yeah. Because that was such a the waves that it has caused, the ripple effect has been so beneficial to me, and all these different new avenues I'm going after. But I was honored to be 40 under 40. And then I moderated the fashion panel, Fashion and Makers, which was amazing just to be the moderator and have 5 Indigenous fashion designer matriarchs on the stage, and just the pressure was off of me. I was just asking the questions and giving them the floor. And I love that. And it took so many little sound bites away from that conversation, even though I was I didn't feel daunted by the 4,000 people that come to that conference, which was amazing. Yeah. But it was just a good experience. And I did a presentation on creativity and storytelling, which kind of relates to the business I founded, Here's to You, and kind of its main mission. But those two things, and then the 40 under 40. So it was an amazing week. My mom came with me, got to enjoy Vegas and that experience together. I always like to have my parents come to those celebrations or those accomplishments that I get to achieve.
Yeah.
Where are you in the lineup of your family?
What do you mean?
Sibling wise for your parents?
Youngest and oldest.
Okay.
Only child.
Oh, okay. There you go.
I'm my mom's only child. I have two half siblings. But yeah, I definitely had an only child upbringing. So youngest and oldest.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your journey. You graduated college, went to University of Colorado, Boulder. What was your major?
Advertising.
Advertising.
So it's stuck with me. I still do that. Still have freelance marketing jobs that I do. But I do want to point out even before that.
Okay.
Went to Norman High School in Norman, Oklahoma. My summer between going to Boulder and Norman, I interned for Unity. So that was and that was when they still had an OKC office. So I was like J.R. Cook, Russell, Ryan Adadell, those guys. It was just like us four in this kind of I think they call them garden level offices now, where it's like essentially underground, but you get to see some sunlight. But that was such an amazing experience getting to be around JR and some of his final years as ED of Unity. Amazing mentor, and I have so many good stories that I reflect on and kind of even have been leading values in my life. I love quotes, and one of the things he texted me after this hectic situation at the Unity annual conference was, what was it? He said, what was it? Something about don't worry about the stress, just keep on moving.
Yeah.
And that's something that just I don't know, stuck with me. And nothing's that that heavy. You can keep moving on. And it was just a great experience at Unity.
Well, this is a cool connection again with the National Center. Unity and we share a building.
Oh, really?
In Arizona
Cool.
now.
Okay.
Yeah. So Mary Kim is right across their suites right across the hall from the National Center. We've been together in that building for 6 years?
At least 5. And we just did a segment before we left about the San Carlos Indian Community's fires.
Right.
And she's an enrolled member there, as well as one of our staff members is.
Yeah, that's crazy. My family's been following that because we have a family friend who's from Mescalero, and they had some of that before the San Carlos was hit. Yeah, it's crazy.
And maybe we should tell what Unity is. So do
Yeah.
you mind giving just a little bit of background, Hud?
Yeah, Unity is United National Indian Tribal Youth nonprofit, and so they have a annual conference and a mid-year conference every year. They do other programs as well, but those are kind of their staples. The annual conference draws in, I think it was 1,200 when I did my annual conference, or when I did that internship. And then I think now it's at least over 1,500. The youth
2,500.
Is it? No way. Oh, wow. Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah, she was telling us just the other day. She's like, I don't know how you guys
crazy.
do 4,500. We're at 2,500.
And youth.
I said,
Wow.
wow, you're right on our heels.
The youth.
Yes. Yeah. That almost counts for 2.
I took
for sure.
I took my son. We went to Unity in San Diego a few years ago, and it was a little overwhelming. A lot of folks.
Oh, yeah.
And I led a session and did some main stage work, and he really enjoyed it. And so, really great to have that connection. Unity is such a powerful organization that do such great work. It's like we, the Unity works with that youth specific demographics, and now they're just moving over to work with us. So that's pretty awesome.
And I had a cool full circle moment with them, and because I interned in 2017, and then 2021 I was one of their keynote speakers in Dallas, and that's so close to Oklahoma. So my mom, my stepdad, my grandpa, my grandma, they all got to come down and watch me speak. So that was another moment of just bringing my family to celebrate those accomplishments as well. So yeah, I love Unity. I love, any way I can contribute to them, or if they're near me, whenever their conferences are, any of their online virtual conferences I've been a part of. So
yeah, that's awesome. And probably then as a youth, you were doing activities with Unity, working with Unity, getting on sage some with Unity even then?
For the during the internship?
Yeah.
Not on stage really. Yeah. I was, like I said, an intern, and so that was all summer, and then their conference is usually around the 4th of July. And so that one kind of hectic moment was like all summer, my job was to get everyone registered into our database, similar to almost like what's happening now with that the Microsoft thing.
Right, the
Yeah.
shutdown.
Our computer at check-in day shut down. So we lost
no.
my whole summer of like inputting all these names and these tribes and the chaperones, the youth councils, all gone on check-in day.
Oh my gosh.
So we had to scramble and get things figured out, and that's when JR said, "Shake off the stress and experience a great day," and that's what's like stuck with me.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you for sharing that. I mean,
Yeah.
I just love those connections like that.
Yeah. And we have that every day in all of our work life,
Yeah.
and those things just happen all the time.
All the time.
So you just have to constantly
Yep.
almost laugh it off sometimes
Yeah.
and then just keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's as early as that, and even a little bit before that in Oklahoma. But like that's when the network starts to build. Like getting involved with the Indian country, and looking back now and being able to just look back and see like being a servant to Indian country for this long. Now that's been like, that was 2013 actually. Sorry, I got those years wrong. But yeah, so it's been almost over 10 years now that I've been involved in whether it's youth or the fashion industry or film. So yeah, took that turn. That was high school. That was just one summer. All that stuff.
Just one summer, but a really impactful summer in your life.
Oh my
so
gosh.
that's pretty
Yes.
awesome. So, graduated college, doing some advertising things. Where did you started getting into all the things you're doing now?
It's been quite a journey, which I love sharing about. And so yeah, graduated from the University of Colorado at Boulder with advertising degree, business minor, additional field of study in communications. And then, I did move home for a year and did sports marketing. So I thought that was going to be my route because I love sports, I love college football. But then a job posting came up for Sundance Film Institute, being in their Indigenous program as a coordinator. So I applied to that. It was a long, like so many, fun, cool jobs. There's like 5 interviews and it takes half a year to get through the interview process.
Yeah.
So luckily I got that. And I've always been a big city guy. Like I was either going to move to Los Angeles or New York and find some way to make it happen. So Sundance, their Indigenous program was based in Los Angeles. So got that job, moved out there, and got to live like a childhood dream because Oklahoma is so different from Los Angeles, and I was itching for that Los Angeles.
Yeah. It is totally different, the two areas. So sort of living in a new environment, working with the Sundance. And were you also doing art stuff, or I know you're sewing and, sort of extracurricular activities at the time?
No, that hadn't started yet.
Yeah.
My art and creativity was being associated with the writers and directors of the Indigenous program.
Okay.
Reading their scripts, doing development workshops with them. Just getting to hear their processes on creating a film was so like, everything is such an attention to detail, which I've loved, and I've tried to be observant. My parents really taught me to be very observant. And I think that's one of my, characteristics I love about myself and contribute a lot of my success to. So I was doing that, and there's so many paths we could build off of this, but when I was at Sundance is when I also joined the board for American Indian Graduate Center, which is renamed to Native Forward Scholars Fund.
Yeah.
So that was happening around that time. But the Sundance job, I was aware in the moment that this is going to be one of the funnest jobs and lowest responsibility that I would ever have. Getting to hear Indigenous stories in a modern context all the way to stories that have been passed down for generations, in all these different nations around the country and around the world. I got to go to New Zealand for a film festival, Canada a few times, all over the country for different workshops and screenings. So amazing job.
Yeah.
Amazing job. And people that were working there at the time, Bird Running Water, Maya Solis, Ina Tele, like those are people that are like origins to my story and where I'm at now.
Yeah. I wonder if
That's cool.
if he ever ran into Daryl.
I don't know. Daryl Fielder is my brother. He goes by Daryl Redleaf. He's a hair and makeup artist in Hollywood.
Oh,
He's
cool.
done a lot of different things. He's retired now, though. Just retired this past year.
Yeah.
And yeah, my nephew's had a documentary, Tribeca Film Festival
Oh, cool.
winner, but also several years ago. He lives in Maine now.
Okay.
Real creative person. So I have some
Nice.
family in the industry. And
So you got the creativity too.
a little bit, you know what I mean? That's funny.
Yeah, Yvette was the one that decided that we should do this podcast. There was this whole like discussion of years ago about maybe doing a TV show and how we should do
Sit
like
down like
sit
this.
down and
Set
have
like this.
yeah, set like this
exactly.
for sure.
That's
Yeah,
what I
it's
wanted.
nice set like this would be really awesome. Maybe not with the band in the back,
True.
but yeah, set like this, and then I sort of was like, I don't know if we have the resources to do
Well,
that.
to go back, it's really funny because you said it does take several months sometimes with the different companies and corporations to hire somebody. I had a former life in workforce development.
Oh, really?
Unlike Chris James, who hires 3 people with 1 budget line item for salaries and doesn't know how we're going to get paid in 2 weeks.
Hey, but
It happened and it worked.
There we go.
Well, and I think and we can talk about that because you do sometimes have to take those. And one of our last guests, we talked about risks a lot. I mean, you do have to take, because what happens when you're a manager, an entrepreneur, you have one job and you have 3 awesome applicants, and you are growing a company, and you are, really trying to, you see these really 3 amazing potential team members who can help you get to the next level. So at the time, I think the National Center, we only had 4 people, 5 people maybe. And, we had this huge building. This was even probably before Unity moved in.
Unity hadn't moved in yet.
So we're pretty much 5 people in this huge 25,000 square foot building with 20, 30 offices.
Oh, wow.
It was just strange. And then, I was like, well, but you almost knew that you guys were part of the growth phase. We just said, okay, we'll just figure it out and grow it together. And we did,
Yeah.
we've grown 2,000% since then. So
That was some of the conversations yesterday when I was sitting in, was like figuring out a way, like talking about the government contracts part, and then like the Unity situation I had, like you just figure it out. You gotta like go with what you got.
yeah. What are some of the risks you think you might have made maybe at this part of your journey?
Let's see. There's been a couple that I probably didn't have a full grasp on how much of a risk it was at the time.
Yeah.
But kind of falling in line with like the chronological order of this journey, leaving Sundance to jump to fashion, I had become acquainted with Joy Montoya, who runs Urban Native Era. And so, like I said, I was in LA at the time. Urban Native Era, or UNE, was in San Francisco. And so we had mutual connections and got to be friends. And then the opportunity came up where he needed help and needed a creative director for his brand. And I hadn't done anything in fashion at the time. So that was kind of the risk, was like making that leap, especially at the time. My last day at Sundance was March 2nd, 2020. And then that was essentially my first day at Urban Native Era. And we were planning this huge event in Los Angeles, in-person pop-up. And 600 people, Phoenix, Las Vegas, the Bay Area, probably some other cities further than that were going to fly in. And the event was going to be on March 12th, 2020. So we had to call it off, had to like cancel all the 600 RSVPs. And another moment, thinking on our feet, we had the venue rented out, had already put down the money. Had put down money for different like displays and everything. So we had a neon sign that was like the hummingbird, which is one of the UNE logos. And I was like, I think we just got to do a 7-hour live show straight, no breaks. So we did that because I think we had this space for probably 8 hours or something. So we did a 7-hour live show. And that was like my first week at Urban Native Era.
Yeah.
So
Oh my gosh,
that was the
what
risk.
a time.
Yeah. Like I said, I had no experience in fashion at that time, but such a learning experience. I was at Sundance for 1.5 years and at Urban Native Era for 1.5 years. And those are both 2 monumental experiences for me. So it's crazy that there was only 1.5 years. And I've been, in New York for longer than that. I've been doing Here's to You for longer than that now, but it doesn't feel like, those were such impactful times. So.
Yeah. So moving to New York from LA, just sounds like 2 years ago.
Yeah. So
you like to do your work in a year and a half to two.
Well, that's what I realized. I hit a wall after a year and a half with Here's to You. I was like, my body isn't used to just keeping going with something.
Yeah.
But so did the year and a half with Urban Native Era, and there was a few factors on why I left there. I had a family member who was dealing with some health problems back in Oklahoma. My lease was ending in Los Angeles, and then I kind of just felt like it may have been time for me to leave Urban Native Era. So all those factors, ended up moving home for about 5 months, helping my family member out. They got to get back on their feet a little bit. And I was just scrolling my bed one day, how we all do, like checking social media. And a friend of a friend had posted about an open room in their apartment in Brooklyn. I was like, you know what? Why not? Just let them know I'm interested, see what happens.
Yeah.
And one of the values in my life, like I've never strived to be like a creative director, a business owner, advertising executive, any like title like that. At the end of my life, whenever that is, I want to like look back and not regret anything. I want to look back and have lived an exciting life. And so that's kind of how I've made so many of my decisions. And whether that's, the most profitable way to live your life or anything like that, it's just like what makes me happy and fulfills me. And so that was just like letting them know I'm interested, see what happens. And it worked out, still in the same apartment. I had been thinking about Here's to You before I had made that leap. So I was working on that in Oklahoma, but that was how I ended up here.
That's pretty awesome.
Still here.
Again, taking another risk. You're just sort of like, hey, and I think it's admirable that you also go back home in between some of these stints and reconnect with family and reconnect with the community. So that's pretty awesome too.
Totally. My Osage dances happen every June, so I always go back for those. But even further than that, like I've talked about my family so much, one of my New Year's resolutions every year is to see both my parents 4 times each year. So that can be like my mom coming to visit here or going back home to see my dad. Those are always like points I make because they've, supported me in everything I've done. And, just love them so much. So I have to I want to see them as much as I can.
Speaking of the Osage events and dances and stuff, one of our there was one just recently, right? Just
in June,
in June. So another one of our friends and clients, Ben Jacobs with Tukabe.
Oh yeah,
Ben. He, I know that he goes down there too, and he's another like an entrepreneur that's doing amazing things, and we've talked about that. So let's talk about the brand, because I think that's it's a neat brand, it's a neat idea, it's a neat concept. Tell us all about it.
And how did you come up with the name?
Yeah.
Okay, so such a learning experience, and I'm still in it. I will hit 2 years of the brand being publicly launched in August. Launched it on my birthday. It's August 7th, so that's coming up.
Hint, Chris.
Yeah, I'm writing it down. I got my pen in my hand. August 7th. Got my little notebook.
Cue the birthday cake.
Yes.
Just kidding.
August 7th.
That's birthday.
That's birthday.
So I had another name for the brand, and then when I was in Oklahoma, hanging out with my grandma. I call her Eka because that's how you say grandma in Caddo. And I wanted to change the name, and I was like, I just need something that just has a hook to it. And I was like, what's just like a word or a phrase that is catchy that comes to mind? And so she thought about it. She gave me a few, and she said, "Here's to looking at you," which is a line from Casablanca. And I was like, and I hadn't seen the movie all the way through, and I was like, "Do you mean here's to you?" And she's like, "No, here's to looking at you." So I wrote it down on this notepad, and I did write "here's to you." So I played around with it, and I kind of figured out the H2Y thing, and I was like, I like that. But I was like, what does it mean? Other than cheersing at the bar, what does that mean? But I wanted it to be, and what it is my definition of here's to you is that it's a me to me statement that you say to yourself when you're deciding between practicality and fulfillment. Because that's something that has applied to my life. There's always an option to choose maybe the more practical route of maybe not starting a business as your main income, or do you start it, or do you move somewhere else because it's more stable for finances, or do you have a home, like family home somewhere, or do you like take a leap to New York or Los Angeles?
Yeah, I like it.
I've taken those leaps, so that applies to my life, and that's the message I want to spread with it. And then even a little deeper than that is the creative niche of it. And I think that honestly probably stems from the first designs I wanted to do was make a shirt that was for painters. And so it would be very utility based. So there'd be a spot for their paintbrush or a spot for their different tools. And I was like, okay, I'll do that for every other type of artist. But then that's kind of daunting to have all those different designs at the beginning. So it stuck with that niche of being for creatives and wanting to intertwine the brand with the lives of creatives. There's a lot of different concepts. One is the blank canvas collection, which I was sewing at the beginning, and it's vests and other garments made out of canvas for them to add their own art to, whether beading or painting or embroidery or whatever else you can do with it, and kind of having it be an ongoing garment. It's always growing or always getting a little more creative or a little touch to it. So
cool.
All types of stuff, but it's been a journey. I spoke about this yesterday, but I've actually taken a little bit of a step back from the brand for the summer because, like I said, those risks that I didn't know how much of a risk it was. Love sewing. If time and money was no object, I'd probably be sewing right now. But, making a business work in New York, and an online business, I got into this kind of hamster wheel of cash flow, trying to keep cash flow going. And then I was like, okay, well, I don't have time to keep sewing and doing these kind of more deeper concept designs. Let me do some designs with "Here's to You" on it spelled out, or the H2Y logo, which those are cool. I love those. I love the way the H2Y looks and the font that I have it with. But, after some of the launches, I was like, I feel like I could have done a little more creativity with this. So I've taken a step back. I want to take my time with my next collection, which will probably be coming out in 2025. And since that time, I've picked up marketing and other advertising, social media, freelance jobs, which are also kind of like riding a bike for me since I've done it since college.
Yeah. Be awesome to watch that at Res 2025.
That would be awesome. Give me a runway.
Well, you know what? We're in the process of, we're definitely going to give you a runway because we are definitely in the process of planning all that. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
I love this. So I'd be happy to.
We'll keep that in mind. Speaking of runways, you did recently a whole Ralph Lauren campaign. Yes, that was the word. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so there's so many things. Like I said, that stemmed from really just having a friendship and a connection with Naomi Glasses, who partnered or was the inaugural artist in residence for Polo Ralph Lauren, and they tapped her in to fully collaborate on a collection. And the way she tells it is, there was this 9 to 12 piece collection they were going to do, and that was going to be their first artist in residence. She ended up proposing a lot more different designs for them to pick from and for them to go back and forth on. And they ended up deciding, let's just do 3 collections. And so this was honestly iconic, monumental, all the words you can think of, because this is the first time that on garment detail that Ralph Lauren, the man, his name has been, anyone else's name has been with his on these garments.
Right.
So the buttons on certain garments and the tags, they all say Ralph Lauren, Naomi Glasses. Wow. And this is like the hardware, like the buttons you have, the pearl snaps.
Yeah.
Not on the pearl snaps of the ones she has, but like the buttons on shirts, which is crazy because it's the first time in their long history. So that, when I tell this story, I always say, like, this is why you keep strong connections and you always uplift your friends and support them in whatever they do, and not expecting to, get asked to be a model down the line or whatever, but like just because you care about them, you care about their success and want them to keep elevating. So I did physically meet. We met in 2020 over social media, and just kept supporting each other, following what each other was doing. And then after some of the lockdown restrictions, people were traveling. We co-hosted a New York Fashion Week event. So just all these connections and just being good friends with her and her amazing family, Tyler and Cynthia, and Tyler Senior. It's been great to get to know them, and they asked me to model, and was so happy to, and got to do 2 collections with them, or model 2 collections, and I loved it. It was amazing.
Nice.
There's a awesome little video of you on the Instagram with you going into the store, I think, or you're like your picture, or wasn't it something like your pictures on the wall,
Yeah.
or you're like, oh, there I am here in New York, right? Or
New York.
or somewhere.
Oh yeah, New York had one at their Prince Street location, but it was like the group photo.
Yeah.
But then I got to, just through different trips I had, I got to go to the store in Boston, which had like a video board of me and Quana and Philip Brett and Naomi. And it was like the video and the photos, and that one was cool just because it was a little bigger, and I had my solo shots in there, so I was happy to see that. And that was a trip me and my mom went to, so she was taking videos of me like pointing to myself, so it was such an awesome experience, like and you know, like going to some of the Ralph Lauren stores here, like that brand has such a brand identity, and like they're so consistent with everything. Like once the store workers knew I was one of the models, they're like, oh, I like shaking my hand, like, you know, laying out the red carpet for me to try. Yeah, like, oh, I didn't notice they got a new model. And like, well, I'm more of a one-time deal, but
I don't know.
I mean, hopefully not, but
yeah,
it was amazing. So yeah, there was all those, you know, cool experiences. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. And you're involved with several nonprofits.
Couple, yeah.
Yeah.
Now.
Tell us about some of that work.
Yeah, so I joined American Indian Graduate Center summer of 2019 on their board, just general, or, you know, at-large board member. Amazing experience at the time. Another thing, did no idea really what a board member was meant to do, that oversight role. Because I was so in the weeds, you know, I was a coordinator at Sundance at that time, and like I was the one, you know, booking birds like flights and like still reading scripts and hearing these stories, but it was, and so I sat on the executive board for a little over a year as treasurer with them, and then, you know, I think my voice is the marketing and the advertising. And so when we went through the name change of American Indian Graduate Center, a 50-year legacy name, to Native Forward Scholars Fund, I was working with the ED, Angelique Albert at the time, and her team, and then one of our other amazing board members, Amber Garrison, who's here in New York City. We were kind of the advertising marketing voices. So it was a long process. We had to switch firms. There was some problems with, you know, some stereotypes from people in the South. So had to go through some things with that, but memorable experience, and I've learned so much. I'm in my second term now. Second 4-year term on that board, so
it's great.
Enjoying it, like all-star lineup, like the people on those boards, like it's so nice to work with them.
Lillian Sparks Robinson's on that board as well.
Yeah, she's on there.
She's on our board. She's quite a rock star, and just she was actually, you guys,
welcome message yesterday morning.
Okay, you did connect. Yeah, good.
I don't know if you got to see her.
I don't know. Did you see her?
Oh, is she here?
She was here.
I don't know.
Yeah, she was at the event. Yeah, I was just thinking about that. I was like, oh, I bet you guys just sort of missed each other. But yeah.
I mean, Walt Lamar was a great mentor for me. He was on the board at the beginning of my stint there. Holly's been a great captain as the board president for a few years now. Amazing, like I said, just amazing people to learn from and get to be around, and feel they give me space to feel confident in contributing as the like 20-something, like figuring it all out, but they really trust my marketing and advertising voice. And like, I think sometimes it was funny, I would say like, well, as someone closer to the age of the students, I think this. So I was that voice sometimes, but I learn from all these different groups I'm in, you know, the being on set of the modeling stuff, the board for Native Forward Scholars Fund, my own brand, working at Sundance, another well-oiled machine, Urban Native Era, another like kind of small business startup vibe, like all these learning experiences, why I encourage everyone to just like say yes and like try these things. So
in a short amount of time, really. I mean, it probably seems like it was a long time ago, but really it's
been a fast track. But like I said, I was raised to be very observant. So, you know, I think that may be why it seems like these 1.5 years seem longer. It's like I've tried to take these memories from all these like leaders, like Bird Running Water, like Joy Montoya, Holly, Macaro. Like I've taken notes of like how they navigate their industry and just like really ingrain those things. And I love quotes, so I'm always taking quotes down in my phone in the notes app. So it sticks with me.
And in some ways, like I have a daughter who lives in Brooklyn. She's been there 6 years now. She's kind of in the industry also of entertainment. And she said, it's either going to be Los Angeles or New York. You just have to if you're in the industry. But she felt like LA was too close to Phoenix, too close to home, too much like Phoenix. And this was, and they, her and her boyfriend came out here and they love it. And you've been out now in Brooklyn, you said.
A little over 2 years now.
2 years now.
Yeah, I love both. Like I was just back in Los Angeles. They both have their pros and cons. Like I said, I like to live an exciting life. And so I always say in New York, you can experience more with less effort. So perfect for me to experience as much as I can. And even before coming here today, I popped into a gallery that I really like, Hannah Traore Gallery. They're about to have a solo show for Indigenous artists, but just stuff like that. You can pop in. It's a free gallery. Went to go see my friends at owned a vintage store. Meant to go see Relative Arts. I loved them, Karina and Leanna. To get to catch them probably after the podcast. But yeah, there's like, you can just walk everywhere, take the train. Los Angeles, you got to worry about parking, Ubers. I don't know.
Well, sometimes coming from a rural area, big cities was always intimidating. When I moved to Washington, D.C., I remember I was watching the metro, the subway system go by, and I was just thinking, I don't think I've ever even been on a subway system.
I don't know how to use it.
I don't know how to use it for sure.
QR code or something.
So I was even nervous because they come into the station so fast, and I was like, is that even going to stop? I mean, that's a true story. So, it's hard sometimes to get out of your comfort zone. So I commend you for, having those and going back home so often. I really like that too. Unfortunately, sometimes I don't even get to go home as much as I want to. Boy, mom and dad would love for me to come home more. And I would love it too. There's something rejuvenating about home. Just getting home. Like, and we were talking about my home is very green. Everything's green and mountains. I'm from Cherokee, North Carolina. And it just, so we were talking about the smells and everything about home has all the sounds, the senses,
it's just slow. Everything slows down. Yeah. You go, for me, it's North and South Dakota. And you get closer, we were talking about this earlier, and my mother would always say that, by the way, also, what we were talking about. She's like, you have to go home. You have to re-energize and rejuvenate.
Yeah.
And it's so true. And you feel that when you're getting closer. I think you're connected.
Yeah.
The pace is so huge, like you said. Like, that's the thing that you kind of like, you're on the fast track in New York, and then I go home to Oklahoma, and it's like, okay, slowing down a little bit. But that's even like some people that, and I don't know what my path is going to be. I always said in Los Angeles, like I'm here for a long time, and I was there for 3 years. So now everyone asks, how long am I going to be in New York? I just say foreseeable future, because I don't know what's going to happen. But so there's some elders in the Osage community that have now passed, but they would say, like, you go off and you learn as much as you can, and then you go back and you kind of share what you learn with the community. So people have done that. That was actually Wilson Pipeston's dad that said that. So Wilson, he went to DC, and now he's back in Oklahoma. So people like that are like, I hear those quotes, it's always like those nuggets of information that stick with you. And you think about those things, and like, it's all in, divine timing, like things are going to fall the way that they're going to. So just trusting that too, like trusting your gut, having those experiences where you learn your gut reaction. I think those are so key, like taking those risks and like being aware of how you feel, being observant, how things make you feel. Like maybe this interaction didn't feel good. Maybe this avenue of an industry didn't feel as good as I thought it was going to be. Maybe I'll pull the plug on that, go this other route. I think it's all about trusting your gut reaction, because that's going to like lead you on the path you're supposed to be on.
Yeah. Well, where's their quote book? Well said. Write that down.
The movie, Killers of the Flower Moon. I mean, you're an old Osage. Any family members in it? Did you have any? Yeah.
So many. I was in LA at the time, and I was working for Urban Native Era when they were doing the production. And Joey was like, you can go back, like if you want to like, try out for any of the roles. But I was like, I never wanted to act. I'm just never had a desire for acting. I might love my life too much to try to act out someone else's. But the movie was an interesting watch. I actually got to see a viewing before it was released.
Preview,
Yeah, and it was at the Directors Guild over here on 57th. And it was actually predominantly non-Indigenous crowd. It was like the directors of the Directors Guild, which was an interesting experience because, all the interviews I saw of Scorsese and even like Chief Standing Bear and Lily and all them, when they were doing interviews in like Cannes or their other premieres, it seemed, the way they answered questions were to the Indigenous community a little bit, as an advocate. This is such an interesting experience because Scorsese did a Q&A after the screening I saw. And I'm not saying he was like, one way to one crowd and the other, but just the questions that were asked were not from the Indigenous perspective. And there were different answers from what I saw on like the YouTube interviews I saw. So it was such an interesting experience. But from the movie, I was locked in for all 3 hours. I didn't like have to, go to the bathroom or fall asleep or anything. But, and I was locked in the whole time. Like I wasn't too bothered by seeing like, these prominent figures in our Osage Launchkey dances or like my family members, my nieces and nephews. There's one scene though, where my uncle Harrison Shackelford, there's a court scene and he has like a beaver cap on and he just like pops out like this. Not smiling, but like just the scene happened and he like, you could see him pop out. And I was like, that's the only time it took me out of the movie. Yeah. But I know like my mom and some of their family members, they have to see it twice because there's so many people we know they're in the movie. Yeah. You're just like keeping your eyes peeled to everybody. But, so many people ask me about what my thoughts are on the movie. And my first comment from this jump is I'm proud of the people who got it to be as accurate as it was because I was at Sundance at the time when they bought the rights to the book. And there was all this like talk about like, how are we going to get access to Leo to make sure it's told the right way? And so I had left before, all that got figured out. But I know people like Wilson Pipestem and some of the Grey Horse community where the murders happened predominantly and where the story's based. And they were the ones who like got Scorsese and Leo to come to these kind of town hall meeting types and really make sure like the wardrobe was accurate, make sure the storytelling was accurate, the names were right. So that's like, I'm so proud of them for how the movie turned out in that way. And there's such a dialogue around, well, we should have had an Indigenous director tell this story from, Indigenous perspective. And like, that would have been amazing too. But people listen to Scorsese from all over the world. Yeah. And a friend, Addie Roanhorse, her daughter is in high school in Pawhuska, Oklahoma. And the book is banned there. But she said, you can't ban Martin Scorsese. Right. So that story is being heard when otherwise, like the book's being banned, that story's being banned in Oklahoma. So I think it was a great opportunity to open the door for Indigenous stories to be told from Indigenous directors. Now eyes are on us. Like it opens the door. Like what else has happened that we don't know about?
Can't just be every 25 years.
No, and like you got to be crazy to think this only happened to the Osages. Right. There's so many other tribes with similar stories. Yeah. So my first and almost only comment is like I'm so proud of those people that got that story to be told the way it was.
Yeah, that's a great, and there's definitely a lot of activity in the film world, a lot of Indigenous focus. I mean, one of our good friends, Mo Briggs Planty, has been with Yellowstone and a bunch of films, and his, he has a company that he's working to make sure that Indigenous representation is shown on film. We have a lot of organizations that are working on this, so it's really renewing to see that. To see all the Emmy, I think the Emmys just came out.
For Reservation Dogs.
Yeah, like, Reservation Dogs.
You don't want to get those things wrong because you got to go back to your community and hear like, oh, that blanket was put on wrong. But like,
and you always get that anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But like Killers of the Flower Moon, like Chad Renfro, Julia Keefe, like they were like on it. They had special garments made from Osage makers. So all that stuff is so important. And it was, such a success just from even the Osage singers at the Oscars, like that was crazy to see that happen, like watching that. For a lot of people, I think not just Osages, seeing that
makes you feel proud
on the big stage. Yeah.
Absolutely. Hud, thank you. It's awesome.
That's it. We could go another hour.
I know. We could go an hour.
Where else are we going to see you?
Yeah.
Anything that's coming up that you can talk about?
Yeah, well, I'm working with New Mexico Community Capital, which is a nonprofit in New Mexico. We're building out an Oklahoma kind of entrepreneur summit. So that's going to be really fun. I'm going to be out at Indian Market doing a few different things with Here's to You on a panel, potentially having some items for sale there. So
great.
Things pop up, and I'm happy you guys asked me to be a part of the NEI this year in New York. Got to be a part of that, and see some familiar faces. And I hope like y'all got to kind of see more about the network we have here. Even though I've just been here for 2 years, people like Karina and Relative and all the artists here. Like, there's so much art that comes through New York, whether it's people that are rural, but their work gets shown here. And I think people think that New York, it's not like there's no indigeneity there. There's like, it's all these tall buildings and these business people on Wall Street, but there's so much art. And that's what I like to share through my personal Instagram is like all this art that comes through, like it's amazing. And like I said, all of it's usually free to check out. So it's great.
We'd be remiss if we didn't talk about your necklace though.
Oh yeah. That's a great point. I mean, I'm surprised you pointed it out. I mean, it's kind of a necklace. This chain is just
you have to describe it a little bit.
Yeah. So this chain is just a kind of a chain I got off like an influencer I follow. He promoted it, but it was really cool. It's a good quality chain. But actually this buffalo, it's actually from another necklace that my grandpa Bill gave me, and he actually recently passed. But I just decided to wear it today because I saw the Smithsonian shared that it's National Bison Month. And I was like, oh, that's awesome, because going to Colorado, we're the buffaloes, and we're expecting a big...
I heard just ask about his necklace.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, the Buffs are expecting a good year with Coach Prime. So I was like, this is I didn't know it was National Bison Month until the 19th of the month, but got to rock it.
Nice.
That's awesome.
It's beautiful.
It looks great.
It's a beautiful silver medallion necklace of a buffalo.
You can always tell you're in the fashion industry because you're really sporty. It's just like all.
New York is fashionable too. I get the inspiration is everywhere.
I need to follow you closer because I feel like I think I've worn this shirt twice in a row.
I did change my shirt.
Between podcasts.
Between podcasts.
Well, this is my second day wearing this shirt.
Or we just told on ourselves.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, it's like maybe we're just a little too personal and transparent on the Native Edge podcast.
What has y'all's experience been like in New York? Do you feel like there's Indigenous representation here? Do you think there could be more like awareness about what's happening here from Arizona?
Personally, I've seen it come in waves.
Okay.
So I'm 61 years old, and so I think it's fashion comes every 10 or 20 years, certain things. And you just see it, and it's like bell-bottom pants, right? I mean, that was really popular when I was growing up, and then it came back, and then it kind of goes away. Colors, certain colors come and go. And
that's talking about fashion. You're talking about people.
Well, no, I'm saying everything, and so even protesting or really... speaking out and it gets quiet, and then all of a sudden there's it comes up again. It's like clockwork. It's really interesting. Different songs even get remixed and remade. I'm like, well, oh, did you hear this song? It was so great. And I listened to it, and I'm like, oh yeah, that came out in 74 or 5, whatever. And you're like, really? I'm like, no, it's a remix of this or that. But it's cool.
I think New York City has the largest indigenous population, urban indigenous population in the United States. So I think we do have a lot of representation from all over the country. How we reach those folks is something that we've struggled with.
Political, just everywhere.
And how, and I know that some of the organizations you work on, the urban Indian centers, and they're there, but you're talking thousands and thousands of indigenous people that live here. So how do we get in front of them as an organization? How do we support? How do we partner with other organizations so that they see us? So that's one thing. And I think as a city, boy, there's a heartbeat in New York. I mean, it is something. I mean, you have the arts community, you have all the boroughs throughout the city. It's a very walkable city. So usually I just find myself, like even by the Hard Rock Hotel here, there's this cool little courtyard that I just discovered in between our recordings. And it has this, did you see this, Michaela?
Waterfall.
A waterfall.
Yeah, the waterfall.
They're eating.
I was
right
just like
there.
looking at that, and I was like, man, that's awesome. Just a cool little, just on the, little between two buildings. And those are things that are really exciting to me. I like to see that type of.
Did you see the rabbit with the tuxedo on?
I did see that. Yeah. Yeah, that's. I was like, if I was thinking about sitting there and having lunch with the rabbit.
Now, have you ventured out, like gone to Niagara Falls and Seneca Nation or anything?
No, not since I moved here. When I was with Sundance, we did a couple years of a program with the Oneida Nation. So we went up to Oneida, just outside of Syracuse, worked with them. But I've just been a city boy since I moved here, but I love it so much.
Yeah. Well, we really appreciate your time today. We are super excited to follow your career and to support where we can. We're going to check back. I think Yvette and I are decade people. You're a 2-year person, so we're going to give you 2 years. We're going to check back.
18 months. 18 to 24 months.
So we're going to check back. We are definitely going to see you at the Reservation Economic Summit in March. You can, be part of that event, and definitely maybe you'll be able to show some of your goods this year and be part of that as well. So we really appreciate you. I'm not kidding. I am looking forward to see what's next with you.
Thank you.
It's exciting. It really is.
Hope so.
And I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. I
Black
appreciate
Elks
it.
said 7th generation, and we're in that generation with these guys. Kayla and Hud.
Yeah. I like all the connections too. It just makes sense. When things make sense, things are good. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today on the Native Edge podcast. The National Center for American Indian Enterprise Development is a 501c3 nonprofit. So anything you can do to help support us as an organization, you can follow us on all the platforms. What are some of the platforms we're on?
Instagram, X. Is it called X now?
X.
Oh, we always forget X.
I know.
Yeah. That one.
Facebook. YouTube, our YouTube channel,
TikTok.
Our Native Edge Institutes go live immediately to YouTube, to our YouTube channel.
That's
so
right.
You can go back and fast forward to your favorite speaker and see Hud's panel with Sutton.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
That's cool.
We could probably see Hud's panel from Res too somewhere.
Yeah, it's all up there on our YouTube.
All up there on the YouTube. On the YouTube, we also on Vimeo. Vimeo?
Vimeo.
Yeah.
We have some videos on our Vimeo account.
Yeah.
But you can Venmo us.
Yeah, another way. And please, Venmo us. Thank you all again. We really appreciate your support for the National Center, for all the work we do, your support for Native American communities. And thank you for listening to the Native Edge podcast. Until next time, I'm Chris James.
Yvette Fielder.
We will see you next time on the Native Edge.